What's up, fellow nerds, and welcome to Not Your Status Quo's Black Widow final trailer breakdown.
If you like what we do, make sure that you hit that like button and make sure you subscribe.
And share this with all of your friends because we know they would like to see this and get this valuable information. Yelena, I tell people my sister moved out west. And we see shots of some islands with a bridge in the background. Is it the bridge that we see later on that we see Taskmaster and Black Widow fighting on?
Could very well be.
Mm-hmm. And then we see like a trailer sitting in the middle of like a forested area. Could this be a base of operations for Natasha and her family later on as they're doing what they need to do? Then you hear like
Let's make some strange noises over here, folks.
Is it a Stark weapons facility?
And then Yelena, you're a science teacher, and you see Nat in the house with the fight with Yelena from the first trailer. And then your husband renovates houses. And then we see the military with General Ross at a site of the first trailer. Yelena, you are thinking about moving, but are waiting until the interest rates go down, sharing a beer with Nat. That's not my story.
You know,
I like how she says it with a chuckle. So I'm assuming she's referring to when she was actually an agent, what her cover story was or whatever.
Yes, that's what I assumed.
and when I see Ross there, I every time I see it, I'm like, well, maybe that's not the best CGI that they've ever done.
Well, remember, they still got some time to,
Clean it up a bit.
Yeah, they got some time till it's released. And Taskmaster looks a lot better in this trailer than he did in the first trailer. So.
Yeah, he does. And also, we also don't know if everything is absolutely correct in this trailer. You know that they've misled us in the past.
Trailer tricks.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
And this Taskmaster is definitely a lot more serious than the one you find in the comics. At least in the trailer.
So far, what we've seen of him.
Yes.
And then Nat, before I was an Avenger, I made mistakes. And then you see a car flipping over, her getting out to face Taskmaster, and I even my note here, CGI has improved a ton. And then Nat, and a lot of enemies. Which made me think someone from her past maybe isn't Taskmaster, but hired him. And one of the things from the comics that, we keep seeing her mom in this, who is Iron Maiden in the comics, and we actually see her mask in a scene later in this trailer. But in the comics, she was always very envious of how much press and notoriety the Black Widow got, Natasha. And she was jealous, and she actually went after her. And this could be her. They could still be playing this in the comics. She may be hiring Taskmaster to do all this to her and maybe try to kill her while still being on the inside. Because a lot of people thought she might be Taskmaster. I think she is just the person behind... Because Taskmaster in the comics was never the leader. People hired him.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And he was never the guy in charge.
He's appeared in a couple of different comics and faced off against a couple of different Marvel characters. And he's always been like just a guy for hire.
Yep.
In fact,
he's a mercenary.
He's went up against Deadpool a couple of times too.
I think
they're good friends, actually.
I think Avengers 174 was when he was first introduced. So he's fought the Avengers, so... And we kind of see something later on in the trailer that would show that he's probably seen some. And then we see Nat firing at Taskmaster and him blocking it with a shield, which reminded me of Bucky from the Winter Soldier, the way he was kind of holding it, which we'll talk more about this, but in the comics, Taskmaster has photographic reflexes, so if he sees something done, he can then do it. And throwing the shield at Nat and it getting stuck in the car window. And then you see Taskmaster actually watching footage of the Black Widow. And it looks like it's from Iron Man 2.
So he's looking to try and figure out what her moves are so that way he can counter them.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And you get a close-up of his mask, which looks so much better. But you'll also notice in the top of it, we'll show this here so you don't have to see me pointing to my head, looks like a camera in his mask. So maybe while he's fighting, he's recording everything. So, like Thor, he's never faced me twice. Mm-hmm. The second time Taskmaster fights you, he's probably a little at so Willie's never fought me twice.
Right.
And then Yelena, his call sign is Taskmaster, and we see shots of the new Black Widows training in the Red Room. He controls the Red Room, but I think someone is controlling him, as I said before.
Now, is that comic book accurate? he controls the Red Room?
No,
I don't think so. I was gonna say, like, I've never heard of that.
I was gonna say I don't like that idea, but I'm willing to watch it play out.
Yeah, and he trained at the Avengers Academy. Like he was hired in to train people. He does that really well. So I could see once again if they think he's in control of the Red Room, but maybe really Iron Maiden is.
Yeah.
You know, they're manipulated, fully conscious, but no choice. And I still think Iron Maiden is Taskmaster's boss because of the whole jealousy from the comics. Then you see Yelena strapped to a table and someone getting a needle ready. And is this what is controlling the Black Widows? And is at some point in this movie, is Yelena going to be controlled by Taskmaster to fight
Could very well be. Yeah, and then Natasha will have to fight against her.
Yep. And then Nat, I should have come back.
Maybe it'll be one of those, like, don't make me do this.
Yeah. Well, then Nat says, I should have come back for you, which maybe that's something from the past, even though that uniform she's wearing when she's strapped down looks like what she's wearing throughout the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And then Nat, how many others are there? Sounds like freeing the Black Widows would be the main goal of this movie.
Freeing them or maybe just eliminating them?
Well, I don't think they eliminate them because they made it known that they're completely manipulated.
Yeah, she says a line like, they're conscious, but they have no control over their actions.
No choice, yeah.
So there's a spell that can be broken, and they can all have an individuality
again. Yeah, probably.
We can have a bunch of Black Widows running around. And then Yelena says enough, referring to how many others. And Black Widow, and a bunch of Black Widows bust into the house that Nat and Yelena were fighting in the first trailer, and they got the laser-pointed guns looking all around, so it looks like we're going to see probably Nat and Yelena team up against some of these up-and-coming Black Widows. And then we see a helicopter landing at a house in the middle of nowhere. Could this be the entrance to the Red Room? With Nat saying, we have to go back to where it all started so they can never do this again. So it does sound like at least what they're showing us in the trailer while she's saying we have to go back to where it all started, which we'll assume is the Red Room until we are shown otherwise.
It would make sense, line-wise, too.
Mm-hmm. And then Red Guardian, you see him kind of busting out of prison, and we are family, we fight with you. And you see the scene where all that debris was from the first one and them all together. So it does sound like they're going to all be working together. Obviously, with their inside mole, Iron Maiden, who's actually running the Red Room. You heard it here first.
I'm waiting for you to be totally wrong.
I probably am. And then you see that secret room full of weapons, which was awesome. And this is where you see the Iron Maiden mask in that room. Mm-hmm. So if she's not the Iron Maiden now, she at least was in the past at some time. And then it sounds like she says you won't win, which could be foreshadowing her being the main villain in this movie.
It could be, yeah.
Thing. But it was hard to hear. I couldn't really tell what she said. And then we see Red Guardian versus Taskmaster, with Taskmaster doing the claws coming out, which we see Black Panther do in Infinity War. Mm-hmm. So obviously, once again, he's mimicking.
He studied it, yeah.
Yep. And then he does that flip kick, which...
we saw in Iron Man 2.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I had mentioned something to Keith. So at one point he's shooting an arrow, which the way he's firing it looks eerily similar, and I had to ask, who was that?
Well, and as I think we talked about in our first trailer breakdown, we know it's not Hawkeye because Hawkeye's left-handed and Taskmaster is right-handed.
But
or
this is also something that's
ambidextrous.
been in the comics before too, where they were able to tell like which one was Taskmaster and which one was the real person. They're like, oh, so and so uses a sword with their right hand or whatever.
Yeah. And then we see some of the Black Widow trainees heading out with a red light overhead. We see, motorcyclists with guns chasing that car that Nat and Yelena are in with their banter. Should I just duck and cover, or do you got a plan? I was just planning on driving away. Hey, your plan sucks.
But, she's known for having regular conversations during chases.
Well,
so.
They're professionals. They're calm during these things. They can have those conversations.
Yeah, like in Age of Ultron, they're talking about the kitchen.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And then... we see Taskmaster shooting the arrow with the car flipping over. And then that switches to Nat fighting a bunch of other Black Widows. And looks like probably maybe in the Red Room or maybe during the scene from the thing. But man, she's taking a beating. And at one point, which you'll be seeing right here, she takes a knee while she's down. And it just snaps her head back. Man, it's looks like some tremendous choreography for these fight scenes. I mean, It looked really great. And then Nat, at some point, we all have to choose. And you see a montage of Red Guardian kind of walking through like the prison area. And you see Nat and Yelena touching heads, which may be after Yelena's spell is broken and she's able to make her own choices again. And then we see Nat facing Taskmaster, and she looks absolutely frightened by this guy. And I don't know if this is after their fight on the bridge or maybe the first time running into him. Very hard to tell, but she looks scared. Like she's either got beaten by him before or just knows who he is. Almost like how she used to have talk about the Winter Soldier in Captain America, the Winter Soldier. Mm-hmm. And then we see General Ross and a SWAT team at a bus station, I think. It does say terminal over this thing. And we did see Nat kind of walking through buses. And maybe this is early on in the movie. And, you know, General Ross is looking for her because of what happened in Civil War. Mm-hmm. And then we see Yelena kicking one of Taskmaster's goons' butt in what looks like an elevator. And we see a 50 cal firing at Nat as she jumps onto a helicopter with a rope at Hoth Base, that sort of wintry base that we saw from the first trailer. And then, what is my favorite part in the entire trailer, Nat says, "I'm done running," and then is immediately seen running from an explosion. Which, whoever edited this trailer, thank you. That was extremely well done. I was cracking up.
And then, probably sitting there watching our video like, yeah, that was on purpose.
Intentional, 100%.
Hey, who put that right after that? And then we see Red Guardian kicking Taskmaster's shield to his hand, which we've seen Taskmaster do and Captain America do. Mm-hmm. Throwing it at someone in the cockpit window with Iron Maiden sitting there, which a lot of people thought Iron Maiden was going to be Taskmaster. But I don't think that's Taskmaster in the window, because it looks like just one of his armored goons that we saw earlier. But it's kind of hard to see. I was pausing it and going frame by frame, but it didn't look like Taskmaster to me. But obviously he was there because his shield was there. And then Taskmaster with his sword flying in the air. I won't say flying, gliding in the air after the Black Widow in that scene from the first trailer with all the debris falling. Yeah. And then what I think is the shot of the trailer, Nat kind of stops herself on some debris and he just flies into her and they start kind of fighting. And I thought that was amazing. And then we see the, May 1st, the movie will be coming out, and then we get that family banter at the end.
I love that. That's hilarious.
I think the best part, she's like, "Don't slouch." And she like goes to say, and he goes, "Up, up, up." And then she's like, "All of you stop." And Elena's like, "Hey, I didn't say anything. That's not fair." Very, very family-esque.
That's probably going to be a funny scene.
Yeah. Well, MCU does that right. They interject the right amount of comedy within these movies to, not make them like some sort of DC edgelord fest.
Thank God.
Need a little bit of levity.
We did get a lot in this trailer. We learned probably a little more about Taskmaster. We saw the Iron Maiden mask. I think they're giving us all the hints to kind of put the pieces together. And I hope I'm right, and that Iron Maiden is the big bad that's running the shots while she's kind of a part of that family and staying close to them. But
don't worry, they're scrambling and editing and fixing the movie right now to make that happen.
We have been right on a few predictions in the past, so.
Well, they're not doing it now, Doug, because they haven't seen our video. But once we've released this video, they'll be like, "Oh man, we got to make changes." At least we hope. We could be wrong.
I mean, they do watch all of our videos.
They do.
So. And they do have a little extra time this year to do it, so.
They definitely do.
But, one of the things we talk about after every trailer, hype level. I think most of our hype was pretty high for this. It's kicking off Phase 4. First trailer looked great. I think this one looked a lot better. They've obviously put some time in with the CGI. And, I think it's going to be a blast. I think it's going to tell us a lot about Budapest, a lot about Black Widow's past, while bringing it all into the forefront. We're getting Taskmaster.
We're going to get a few cameos.
Oh, we'll definitely get some cameos.
Yeah, I think mine, Clint, Iron Man, and Captain America. That's who I'm hoping for.
And they would all make sense because obviously Clint, if they're talking about Budapest, he was a part of that mission. Iron Man, Tony Stark showing up because this is post-Civil War after she kind of turned on him after she was part of his team. And then obviously Captain America, because she's part of that Avengers team.
Iron Man obviously knows where they are. He's got satellites. So...
Yeah. And Captain America could show up because she's kind of working with him at the beginning of Infinity War. So, and we may get some surprise cameos. Who knows? Maybe we'll see some characters like a Mockingbird or other Shield agent who, maybe show up. There's so much they can do with this, and I don't think we know half of what's really going to happen.
So on a scale of 10, where is your hype level?
For this, hype level's probably about 8, 8.5.
Dave?
Yeah, I'd say about an 8.
I'm more of a 6. I will, I want to go see the movie, but I'm not, like, supercharged to go, okay, it's fine. I think it's going to be, it's going to have a couple of funny moments. I'm looking forward to seeing some of these characters and learning a bit more, but when you've got a movie that, took place in the past and so much has happened since then, I'm a little less excited because I already know what her fate is going to be eventually, so I'm like, okay.
True, but, they can fill in a lot of the blanks from what happened between movies.
Yeah, just because we know she is going to survive no matter what. I think because it's a Black Widow movie, we can make that assumption. And I get it. Past movies are always a little easier to predict what's going to happen most of the things. But I think this is going to set up things leading into Phase 4. I think we may see AIM coming back, which could lead in. And we're probably going to see a lot of what's going to really play out in The Falcon and the Winter Soldier on Disney Plus into this, which leads us into our last question, post-credit scene. What do you think we're getting?
That's what I think. I think that's going to be Captain America and the Falcon calling her Black Widow in before they go into Infinity War. That was my thought before. It's my thought now. What do you think, Doug?
So I also think it's going to be Captain America, but I think it's going to be kind of a little funny moment between Captain America and what's the guy with the shield, the Russian agent.
Red Guardian.
Red Guardian, yeah. So I think it's going to be some funny banter between Captain America and Red Guardian, maybe comparing, the size of their shield or something goofy like that. Because I could totally see that being like it seems like a lot of these like end credit scenes are just little funny moments.
Yeah, sometimes they do lead into the story, and I think it's going to be more of Baron Zemo and maybe Thunderbolt Ross recruiting Taskmaster or Yelena into their Avengers team or their government-sanctioned team. And I think that's going to be the bridge that takes us into Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Maybe there's a mid-credit and an after-credit, and we're all right.
It wouldn't be the first time they've done that either. So
Right.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
But what do you guys all think? I mean, leave it in the comments. Do you think we're spot on? Do you think we're way off? And what's your hype level?
Absolutely, yeah. Let us know.